Tonight's story is called Visiting Hours, written by Dead Air. So turn the lights off, get comfortable, and enjoy the tape. I worked as a doctor at a general hospital in my town. I quit after seeing how we treated our patients. Ever since I was a kid, I hated hospitals. The smell, the waiting. It's awful. It doesn't help that some of my worst memories are in a hospital. My grandfather dying, my father's heart attack. There really are no redeeming qualities to these places, I guess. I suppose that makes it weird that I decided to pursue a career in medicine. I mean, sure, a lot of bad is associated with hospitals, but there's a lot of good as well. Here I can help people. I can make a difference. There's a hospital in my town that's unusual. Once I got my degree, it was the obvious place to work. It's a small place, but the money was good and it was close by. So much so that I don't even have to take my car. I'd heard the rumors in town about the place, but not all of them. And I didn't believe them. I mean, who could? They saw off people's arms when they get an infection. There's waiting times that stretch on decades. I mean, it was just really silly shit. Impossible, really. Then I started my first day. Let me make something clear. I'm a normal guy and I'm also a normal GP. There's nothing wrong in my town and I'm not a crazy person. But this hospital, this fucking place. I had to leave. The first day I worked there, I was just put in an office to do regular checkups. Some coughs, some sneezing, basic stuff. You mostly diagnose basic things or you forward them to some other specialty or order some tests. It was a pretty average day, but right near the end, an old woman came in. This is how I remember the conversation. "Good morning, Mrs. Penton." "Hello, doctor." "So, how can I help you?" "Well, one of the doctors told me to come here to get my prescription." "One of the doctors? Who?" What's the medication called? Do you remember?" "I don't remember. No. It's hard to remember things when you're this old, honey. It's those red pills." "Red pills? Okay, let me just check your file then." "No." She grabbed my hand when she said that. "No need to check that, honey. Just give me the pills." At this point, this old, fragile woman, and I do mean fragile, was holding my hand without moving. She looked crazy. Her eyes, they started changing color. I can't really describe it. I was saved when a colleague of mine happened to come in and saw the conflict. He just took a look at the old lady and looked back at me. "Astrazome," he simply said. The old lady almost jumped up at him in excitement, yelling, "Yes!" He simply jotted something down in a note and sent her on her merry way. I was left dumbfounded. "New here?" He turned back, asking me. "Yeah? What the hell was that?" "She has acute rhinitis. Now you know." He picked up the extra equipment he wanted from my room and left. I looked up astrazome, or rhinitis, and I didn't find anything online or heard about in any other medical setting. But there it was in my hospital computer. An option for astrazome. Whatever it is, it doesn't list any active substances. It just says red pills and lists a dosage. This is where I started getting suspicious. I assumed maybe that old lady was just some drug addict, maybe hooked up on opioids. If that red pill was a placebo, I guess that could explain it. But that would be highly unethical and probably illegal. There was something wrong with Mrs. Penton, and I don't know what. Her eyes, the way she grabbed me, something was wrong. She was too strong. She was stronger than me. I look back fondly at that day. It was honestly the most normal day I had in that hospital. Things got much worse. I remember the following week when I was in my consultation room and I started hearing people running. Now, that was fucking scary. I stepped out and saw nurses, janitors, interns, and doctors were all running in one direction. They weren't sprinting or running away from something, but they clearly wanted to get out. I grabbed someone and just asked him what was going on. This is what he told me. "What? Let me go. It's almost 8 p.m., he replied. "What? Why are you running?" "They forgot to set the clock backs after daylight savings. It's almost 8. I was confused, but I left with them. I don't work past 8 p.m. In fact, my schedule is pretty all right. I work from 9:30 a.m. till like 7 p.m. I didn't know this, but apparently there's an alarm that plays every day at 7:30 p.m. Apparently, that alarm is supposed to warn people to leave. I didn't know this because, like I said, I'm not there at that hour. That's the day I found out one of the rules of this hospital. You don't work after 8. Not ever. It still baffles me. But I remember distinctly what the staff was yelling as we were all running away. "The patients are getting up." Jesus. The patients. That's who we were running from. Every day, everyone runs or leaves the hospital at exactly 8 p.m., and the hospital gets locked up. Everyone who is left inside stays inside. Doesn't matter if you're a visitor, a nurse, or a doctor. I don't know how the patients survive on their own till the next morning, but they do. I needed the money at the time. I'm sure some other staff works the night shift. I hope. Everything is wrong with that hospital, as you can see. But if I could narrow it down, the things that make no sense would be the patients, the doctors, and the diseases. And I guess the insane rules, they sort of dovetail. I'd take low-level corruption or some embezzlement, honestly. Maybe some sexual harassment. But the shit that I've seen, it's not normal. It's not possible. You see what the patients are like, so I guess I'll talk about the doctors. I'm not sure what's wrong with them. My colleagues were very bizarre. The younger ones, myself included, were always stressed out, but the old dogs, the ones that have been around the block, those older doctors, they just don't care. I once had to draw blood from a patient, a woman. Seemed fairly ordinary until I stuck the needle in. A lot of people are scared of needles. I should know, my sister is like that. But it's rare to see the opposite. When I inserted the needle, she started drooling in excitement. I'm not sure what was wrong with the woman, but she just kept shouting, "More, more," as I drew her blood. Jesus Christ, what a lunatic she was. She looked disappointed when I stopped. When I brought her blood to the lab to get it tested, I was left dumbfounded staring at it. My God, it was so thick. It was like syrup. I gave the blood to one of the lab guys. Dude just looks at me. "What's this?" he asks. "It's blood," I respond. I don't know if the guy was stupid or something, but how much more obvious does it get? I told him I need the generic blood work. The dude just pops the vial open and starts drinking it. I'm left standing there speechless, and when he turns to me and says, "She has diabetes," he licked his lips. "Type 2. Jesus Christ. I don't even know who I should report this to. HR is always sick. Before I left, I knew of a bunch of people who quit too. I remember management offering us an extra $500 in our wages to stay. I don't know where they get their money, but I remember that they're always understaffed. Gee, I wonder why. Next to the diseases, We once had a patient infected with mold. A woman. I can't really describe it. The mold was growing on her legs and arms. Mold exposure is supposed to only trigger allergies or, at worst, affect your lunges. But this woman had mold on her arms. Like visibly black mold was sprouting from her limbs. I was sent to her house with another colleague to gather more samples and check if the house was still livable. The woman was old, and there's really no point sending a sick woman back to get sick again. Once we got to her house, I saw something that I swear I still can't understand to this day. Have you ever seen fur up close? Like animal fur? Like some carpet made from animal fur or something made to resemble it? When I got to this woman's house and I saw her pitch black wall, it took me a few minutes to accept I was looking at mold. It looked like someone glued a bear to the wall. We tried to wash it off or take parts of it off the wall. An hour later, it was back again. This woman, this house. I really don't understand any of it. The mold, it thinks, it moves. When we got back to the hospital, the woman was in a dire situation. Her family doctor said there was nothing we could do. So we stopped treatment. Poor woman. That's not the weird part, however. I swear I saw this before I left. I saw the other doctors took the mold samples we took from the house. They just took almost a pound of mold, and they were rubbing it on her. I remember hearing them say, "This way it won't spread." I'm a coward for not speaking up, but I couldn't handle it. Were they right? I don't even know. I've seen more new and impossible diseases here than in all my time studying. They don't even show up in books. There's another disgusting disease that's a regular at this place. They're called mercury bloom, or more accurately, chromopustulosis. Long story short, they are these pustules that are, well, colourful. Polychromatic, as the system lists it. If you ever want to be mesmerised and disgusted at the same time, come to our hospital. You'll see a lot of them. They're big balls of pus that explode randomly and have shifting colours. They'd actually be quite pretty if they weren't so disgusting. So, yeah, try to explain multicoloured infections because I certainly can't. If everything I described so far isn't enough to convince anyone of how insane this place is, I'll leave you a series of rules I've picked up while I worked there. Here are a few of them. You must leave work before 8 p.m. I've mentioned this. If a patient with osteoporosis comes in the hospital, you must break one of their fingers. They will either be indifferent to it or thank you. If you decide to pray for a loved one or pray at all, it must be pointed south. Yes. If a patient comes in asking for a shot, do not give him one. Don't look at him in the eyes or talk too much with it. Just politely and firmly say no, and move on with your work. We don't do shots, and whoever comes to ask for one knows this already. Whatever happens in the hospital, you need to know one thing. If you develop some blemish or infection that looks blue, that's it. You're a goner. You're donezo. We even have a saying around here. If it's blue, get out of the room. I keep telling them it doesn't rhyme, but they insist that it does. There's more, but I don't want to bore anyone with our rules. So, as you can imagine, my sanity is quite flimsy at this point. I needed the money when I came here, but at this point, I just want peace of mind. I've quit. I'm done working there. I guess I should explain why. There was an event that happened some days ago that made me sign my resignation. I've worked there for 5 months, but enough is enough. It's just too much. A few days ago, there was an emergency and someone had to be operated in the ER. I happened to be around when they did it. It was a middle-aged man. Nothing weird about him, but he was complaining about massive pain in his abdomen. The attending surgeon at the time decided to perform an emergency laparotomy. That's basically opening your stomach right there and then. A very stupid and dangerous idea, but he did it anyway. There was a small crowd watching, with me in it, and we watched how over the next 15 minutes this man had his stomach wide open, and we all saw what was causing him so much pain. I can't describe what I saw that day. I'm not a biologist, and it was just impossible. What I saw doesn't exist. They pulled something out of his stomach. It was long, it was black, and it looked like rope. But it wasn't just rope, it had legs. If anyone thinks it's insectoid legs, let me correct you by saying this thing had a feather at the end of its body. I apologize to anyone who is squeamish and had to read this, but that's not where this story ends. If this was just another foreign body extraction, I could maybe live with it. Okay, so we have impossible parasites here. What else is new? But I can't accept what I saw that day. After the removal of that thing, I heard the surgeon say, "It's old." Old? Well, sure, it's maybe a parasite at its later stages of life. Nothing bizarre there, but as I was leaving, I saw it. I saw someone bring something. I saw as a nurse brought a bucket of cold iced water with a strange, rope-like entity swimming in it. One that was identical to the one that was removed. And I saw as she picked it up with tweezers and gave it to the surgeon. "This one is new," she said. I'm not a brave man. I don't know what they did with that new thing. But I can guess. And if want to keep my sanity, I try not to guess too much. I try not to think about it. So that did it for me. It broke me. So I left. This is like last time I'll set foot there, and hopefully this is the last time I talk about it too. I hated that hospital. The smell, the patients, the endless hours, the impossible scenarios and gruesome deaths. I leave nothing of myself in my place. I take nothing of worth with me. I quit. It's over. I'm never setting foot in that place again. All that's left are these memories, these stories, and the disease I got while working there. It's one of those multicolored pustules. Remember? I hate it. Shifting its colors playfully. It's so impossible. I guess I never really understood how that place works. I wish I knew. Maybe it would help. I watch the pustule on my leg shift colors ever other hour, as it shines of green and shines of red. It makes me think of the horrible things I went through. It reminds me of that place. It forces me to remember. And since yesterday, it's been shining blue. Hope you enjoyed another dark story from Dead Air. But before you disappear into the dark, we have a question for you. What's the creepiest thing a child has ever said to you? Maybe they told you about an imaginary friend and described someone who used to live in the house. Maybe they pointed toward an empty corner and asked who was standing there. Maybe they talked about a place they'd never visited, with details they shouldn't possibly know. Or maybe they looked at you completely serious and said something you've never been able to forget. Tell us your story down in the comments, because kids say strange things all the time. Most of it can be blamed on imagination, dreams, things they overheard. But every once in a while, a child says something so specific, so impossible to explain, that you start wondering where they learned it. Who knows? Your experience might inspire a future tape here on VHS After Midnight. Until next time. The next time a child tells you there's someone in their room, don't be so quick to tell them there's nobody there.